Hello, my name's Annette Johnston and I am the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Coordinator, and I work right across Aberdeenshire with a range of partners to improve people's lives. And this session, you'll hear a little bit around the data from myself, but we also have with us today Denise. Denise, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Denise Forsyth and I'm the team leader for welfare at Aberdeenshire Council, and I manage the money advice and welfare rights team.
Caroline?
Good afternoon or good morning. I'm Caroline Hastings. I'm a project officer in the Tackling Poverty and Inequalities team.
Agnes?
Hi there, I'm Agnes Carter and I'm Poverty Engagement Worker for Tackling Poverty and Inequalities team.
So this session is about money and well-being. It's about the support that's in place for anybody that is having any difficulties around money or is just feeling a little bit needs some additional support around their health and well-being. So welcome everybody. So in Tackling Poverty and Inequalities, what we do is we have a range of data that informs our decisions. So we do have a range of services that we fund, and some of the data that we use to fund these services is on your screen now. So we do have in Aberdeenshire just under 6,000 children and young people living in relative poverty. We have over 4,666 children living in absolute poverty. And that if you're in absolute poverty, it means that you do not have the household resources to meet your basic needs. For instance, you can't pay your fuel bills, accommodation costs can be difficult, and food as well. If you're living in relative poverty, that is what most people understand, that measure of poverty, and your income, your household income is under 60% of the median income for that year. So it's under 60% of what that median income is, whereas absolute is even below there. So you can see that that's pretty high number for children and young people living in absolute poverty. So it is reflected in the free school meals. So over 4,589 young people are in receipt of free school meals. That means that they're living in households where their income is less than £660 per month. So that's pretty low, and we expect that the majority of them are actually living in absolute poverty. It is a myth in Aberdeenshire that those households that are living in poverty are unemployed households. That's not the case. The majority of people who are living in poverty across Aberdeenshire, those children and young people are actually living in working households. And unfortunately, getting a job, especially if it's a part-time job in a rural area, is not lifting people out of poverty anymore. And you can see that reflected in the universal credit figures there. So over 10,000 people are on universal credit, and half of those have got children in their households. For those of you who don't know what universal credit is, it's an in-work and out-of-work benefit. So it is about income rather than your employment status. And we have seen a decrease in those who are on universal credit, but young people and women seem to be on universal credit a lot longer than any other clients group. Those clients that have got maybe additional support needs, a health condition, disability, are also ones that tend to stay on universal credit. So it isn't the fact that they're unemployed, it's just they might be in part-time employment and are looking for full-time but can't access that. The impact of COVID meant that young people And as you see on the slide there, it's just under 2,000 young people on universal credit. Young people missed a lot of opportunities around work experience, progression routes into further education, into apprenticeships because of the pandemic. And some of those young people are still suffering the impact of COVID. So outcomes can be quite difficult for the young people. And the last part of this slide is about length of time. And as you can see, it's very rare that people are on universal credit more than 5 years, but 2 to 3, 3 to 4, that there is quite high numbers there. And the 2 to 3, we know it's those people that have been impacted by COVID. So as I've already said, women and young people, those with medical conditions, disability, seems to be more affected than other client groups. Next slide, please. So as you'll all be aware, everything, all the costs are going up: food, energy, household bills, and there isn't a household in Aberdeenshire that has not been affected by the cost of living. As I said earlier, when we're looking to support partners and deliver services, we take a range of data, but we also take feedback from our partners and feedback from those with lived experience. And this slide highlights what the real impact of the cost of living is, because data only tells you one part of that story. So what we've been seeing is an increase in households seeking advice and financial assistance. And these are especially around working households. As I said, at the moment, a lot of the working opportunities, the employment opportunities may be part-time, low wages, and they are not taking households out of poverty. They could just be over the threshold for any financial support. So people are coming and seeking advice around if there's any other financial assistance that they can access. We've heard that households are choosing to go onto prepaid meters. And this is where you have a meter and you get vouchers. It's a more expensive way of paying for electricity and gas. And it does result in people having to pay more out on their energy costs than if they did on direct debits. But because people are seeing all the costs going up, they don't want to have high fuel debts. They want to be in a situation where they are heating their homes, especially if they've got children or if they've got a medical condition that means that they need to have their house at a certain temperature. So they're choosing to go on that prepaid meter because they know that what they are putting in and they're paying as they go. There is some education that needs to go around this, because if people just looked at their direct debits and the payments, then we could maybe manage it in a different way. However, it's very understandable. People don't want that debt hanging over them. They don't want to get into that debt, hence choosing the prepaid meter. We've also had feedback from partners that when they are recruiting for certain posts, people are accepting the post, but then having a look at transport and childcare and coming back and saying that unfortunately they can't take up that opportunity. Since over the last couple of years, we've seen the transport routes have changed. That it's not just an increase in money around transport costs, getting from A to B, but the links are different, the times are different, and a number of childcare facilities unfortunately have closed because they can't either get staff or it's been too expensive to run. So when people are looking for employment and they have children, they need to make sure that they have that childcare in place. And unfortunately, because it has been reduced over the last couple of years, people are no longer being able to take up the employment opportunities that is offered to them. Everybody knows that the household bills have increased. Everybody's bills are going up. And we heard that people were choosing to eat or heat. Unfortunately, for some households, it's not a choice. I can't do either. They can't heat the home to a level that they would like. And a lot of people, more people are now using food banks for their weekly shop than they've ever done before. The number of households in rural and remote areas that are off the grid, so that's they're using solid fuel or oil or colour gas heating, they've seen a huge increase in that type of energy. And although there is some financial support around payments for those households that are using alternative fuels, trying to access that can be difficult for people who are not online. And just as I said, similar to childcare, the transport infrastructure has got less. The bus routes have changed. So living in rural and remote areas, we know is costing those households a lot more to access services and to go for their food shopping. And there isn't always an option to change suppliers around the energy costs. And all this together has an impact on people's mental health and how they're feeling, their resilience. Over the last few years, we've seen that people have had came through the pandemic, there's been storms, and now we've got the rising cost of living. There doesn't seem to be any respite, so some households and some people, their resilience isn't as high as what it had been previously, so we are seeing an increase in referrals who are people who are looking for that kind of support. And on the other side, it's our lived experience. The voices of those with lived experience is very important in Aberdeenshire, and this is how it's impacted on them as individuals. So energy prices, fuel, everything is going up, but no one gets paid more. It's putting so much stress on everybody. It is becoming a choice between heating at the house and putting fuel in the car. Another one, I do love a yellow sticker run after 6 at night and then plan tomorrow's meals based on what I buy. Sometimes you get good choices, but other times there isn't so much. Increase in energy has made me stressed. I'm just making it week to week and no more just now. The increase means I'm never going to manage financially week to week. So as you can see, when we talk to those with lived experience, there's a real impact there, and our partners are also seeing it. Next slide, please. So we've got a range of quotes from those who are living in your communities who are being affected by the rising cost of living. And I'm not going to read every single one of them out, but you can read these statements for yourself. They're all impact statements. Some of them are parents and some of them are also young people, because they are also stressed around what's happening with their family and the impact not just of the cost of living, but the impact the last few years have had on everything, relationships within the house, their ability to access good quality food at a low cost price. And some people are using facilities such as food banks that they've never ever used, and previously they have been the ones that have been giving to the food bank, and now they're the ones that are utilising some of these services. Next slide, please. I'm now going to hand you over to Caroline, because we have put things in place to support people around this agenda. So Caroline, over to you.
Thanks, Annette. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about this worrying about money leaflet, which you may or may not have seen. The idea behind the leaflet is to direct people to services that can help with a cash first approach, so putting money into their pockets prior to accessing food bank. The food banks have actually developed and worked with this in partnership. The Trussell Trust and the Independent Food Aid Network have worked with us at Tackling Poverty and Inequalities and our Financial Inclusion Partnership to develop this for our area. It's a very simple process. It's a three-step process. First of all, looking, as you can see, what the problem is. And that may be that you have no money, you're waiting for a benefit decision or payment, your money doesn't stretch far enough, or that you have debt. So you can see each of those options there outlining what the problem is. And you can see the number in the circle there under each of those problems that may arise. So what you do then is you move on to step 2 of the leaflet. And here it's what are your options then? So those circles with the numbers in here link to what the options are for some of those. So it could be something that people are on low incomes may be able to get a crisis grant from the council. So looking at the Scottish Welfare Fund, how to maximise your income, looking for debt advice, benefit advance, hardship payment, or to challenge a decision. So they're the options of what you can do. And the numbers again then link for step 3 on where you can get help with these options. So on step 3, where you can get help, there's communication information for the Scottish Welfare Fund, Social Security Scotland, as well as local area citizens advice bureaus and the Aberdeenshire Council support and advice team. And you'll hear more about what happens when you make that contact shortly from Denise. It's also listed here other support that you can get in terms of health support, mental health support, housing support, as well as information on heating and fuel savings. So it's a very simple 3-step process to follow just to see where you can get that help and maybe look at maximising your income. You can find the leaflet online and you can either download a copy or you can order a copy. And there's also, you can access it digitally and it will take you step by step as well. It's also now available in the 6 most requested languages across Aberdeenshire. And you can see those listed there in Arabic, Dari, Farsi, Polish, Ukrainian, and Russian. So I'm just going to hand you over to Denise, who can tell you a little bit more about the support and advice team and other services that we can offer.
Okay, so within the council, there is the support and advice team, and one of their main functions is to help people to claim housing benefit and council tax reduction. So here in Aberdeenshire, if you make a claim for council tax reduction or housing benefit, it is also an automatic application for free school meals and also clothing grants. This is something that we took on board from feedback from various families, saying that it would help to reduce the stigma of approaching the schools directly if they were struggling to pay for free school meals. So it's seen as an automatic application, and it means as well that families only have to provide their information once, and we can also notify any changes throughout the year directly to the schools without the parents having to contact the schools as well. The support and advice team, they also administer discretionary housing benefit. So discretionary housing benefit is designed to help people if they have a shortfall between the amount that they receive in housing costs from Universal Credit and their actual rent charge. People that are also on housing benefit, if they're of pension age or living in certain accommodation types like temporary accommodation or supported accommodation, can also apply for help within this shortfall. So there's more details about the discretionary housing policy can be found on the council website. But it's a useful scheme to be aware of, because some people aren't aware that there is such a scheme. And especially in the private rented sector, where there can be quite a lot of restrictions put on somebody's rent charge and what can be covered within housing benefit regulations or universal credit. The scheme is there to help to bridge the gap from what you receive in benefits to what your actual rent charge is. They also deal with the Scottish Welfare Fund. So the Scottish Welfare Fund administer crisis grants and community care grants. So a crisis grant is there for people who find themselves in an emergency situation. So it could be that somebody received their wages or their benefit payment yesterday, and extra direct debits have come off their account, and that has left them with no money. So they can apply for a crisis grant, and that will, sort of give them money for food and electricity and gas, and the awards, will be designed to take them to their next wage or to their next benefit payment. Also within the Scottish Welfare Fund, there are community care grants. The community care grants are really based on trying to help people either establish themselves in their tenancy or to stop them, having to, perhaps go into care. And it's about sort of like providing goods that people need to maintain that tenancy. So if somebody who has been homeless is offered a house, they might need help to carpet the house. They may need help to purchase beds, cookers, fridges, all the white goods, and that's what a community care grant is designed to help people with. So the support and advice team also administer that grants. Another pot of money that the support and advice team also administer is the educational trusts. So if we can move on to the next slide. The educational trusts are, it's a fund of money that a lot of people aren't aware of. And from speaking to parents, we know that, financing school trips can be an extra burden, and it's money that families just can't afford just now. But these trusts can help pay for the school trips. There's several funds that makes up these educational trusts. So the bulk of Aberdeenshire is covered by the trust that is actually administered by Aberdeenshire Council. Those at the north of the Shire that fall in the old Banffshire political area, so from like Foggy, Banff, Macduff, they actually have to apply to Moray Council, because it's Moray Council that administer and hold the funds for that particular trust. Again, regardless of where you stay, information for all of the trusts is available on the websites, and how to, the details on how to apply. It can also help people, for students. So if anybody's got children, 16, 17-year-olds that are away to start college or looking to start college this coming year, it can help them go into further education. So these grants can help people, with entrance fees, the cost of books or equipment, or maybe specialist clothing if they're away to take an apprenticeship course at college. It can also help with accommodation costs. And even if a child is attending like university out with Aberdeenshire, so if a child is down at university in Dundee or Glasgow, they themselves can apply for money from the trust fund that can help towards their accommodation costs. There's certain trusts as well that's included in this, but one of the things as well is promotion of arts, music and drama, so that we know that there are families across Aberdeenshire whose children, are perhaps very gifted in music, and if they wanted to attend any like national orchestra training or anything like that, maybe down in Glasgow, down at the Conservatoire, they could apply for funding from these trusts. So we go into the next slide. So the grants are that is currently being awarded is up to £609 to individuals, and you can only receive one grant per academic year. And if we go into the next slide, this gives more details as to who can apply. So parents and guardians, if they're applying for help for a school trip, have to be in receipt of one of the following benefits. So they have to be in receipt of school meals or the school clothing grants, housing benefit or council tax reduction, income support, income-based job seekers, and any of the related element, the employment support allowance, tax credit, child tax credits or working tax credit, universal credit or pension credit guaranteed. As I say, like a young person can also apply in their own right. So anybody who's 16 and over could apply for a grant. If parents or guardians are not in receipt of any of the benefits that's listed above, and if they are regarded as being on a low income with capital under £10,000, they would also be eligible for a grant from the trust. If we can move on. What is also important for us to make people aware of is that these trusts also take applications from schools directly, or any sporting clubs that may be out there. But in the school's case, what would happen is that if they were to apply for funding, they could receive a maximum of £1,218. And that money, it would be expected that would be used to reduce the cost of the trip for all of the children that are signed up for it. But also applications can be made for help with equipment at schools. So we've had applications for whiteboards, for gardening equipment, for a school gardening project. So there's quite a lot of opportunity out there that people can tap into these funds. This slide here is showing how to apply. So there is further details online here at the council website. All of the schools in the area should have a paper copy as well. This slide here is for the contact details for the support and advice team, and also contact details for the Scottish Welfare Fund. If we go into the next slide, there's also contact details there for the money advice and the welfare rights team. And if anybody wants to make a standalone application for free school meals or school clothing grants, again, you can apply online at the council website, but there's also the phone number and the email address of the team who deal with that. Also within the council, we have the money advice and welfare rights team, and this is the team that I directly line manage. So our team is based across Aberdeenshire, and we're also linked in with various partners across the Shire. So we have some members of the team that work within GP practices and work very closely with our partners in the Health and Social Care Partnership. We also have one team member that works with Progress and Dialogue that helps support marginalised communities. And we also have another member of the team that is working with CFINE and their mobile pantry project. So what can the team do? Well, we can carry out benefit checks. We can see if there's anything that people could be applying for that they're not already. We can help fill in that forms if there is anything that we can identify that somebody might be entitled to. But we can also help challenge any decisions that may come back. So, for example, if somebody makes an application for the adult disability payment and they're refused, if somebody has got grounds for further revision, we can help them to make that application for a revision, and ultimately we could then take that case to tribunal to get the decision looked at yet again. We also deal with low-level debts. Debt is a very specialised subject, so we wouldn't be able to help anybody that's looking for sequestration. But what we could do is do a warm handover and introduce you to somebody within CAB who would be able to help. But we deal with low-lying debts, so we spend most of our time really looking at energy debt. That's the debt that is featuring very strongly for all of the support and advice services across Aberdeenshire. So we can speak to the utility companies to see if there's anything that we can do to make a payment arrangement, and we can also help apply for various funding. There is various funding streams that can help people there. So as I said, that this is where we are based. So we are based right across Aberdeenshire and within various partner organisations. So if we can go into the next slide. So if you need to contact us, we have an email address for the team. We also have a group telephone number that you can contact us on. And we also have a referral online. So if you visit the council website, there's a referral form that you can complete with all of your details and sort of like details of what kind of help that you're looking for the team to provide. And once you submit that, somebody in our team will contact you to see if we can support you any. So that's all of my slides, and I will hand you over to Agnes.
Thank you, Denise. Hi, everyone. I'm just firstly would like to say a little bit about my work and how the Lived Experience Online Forum has developed. My work mainly focuses to raise awareness around communities across Aberdeenshire that there is an opportunity to have your voice to be heard. Currently, we have 2 online forums, which is one is the Lived Experience Online Forum for families, and the second one is Lived Experience Online Forum Community Place, which is for any community member from all walks of life. So next slide, please. Why do we need people with lived experiences? Involving people with lived experience improves overall policy making, and their contribution of people with lived experience makes policy better collectively and individually, and their knowledge is invaluable. How do we work? Well, usually I mainly work on the online spreading awareness about the possibility to join our forums, which you can find me on Agnes Carter Work on Facebook page, or Parents Come Together in Aberdeenshire, or you can directly email me, and then we can have a chat and have a discussion, and I can answer all your questions and see if what exactly you are looking for and how you would benefit from joining the forum. So we usually we normally recruit families across Aberdeenshire by meeting face to face first time, so people can know me and understand what the forum is all about. The forum is free and confidential. It's designed to be a safe space and not available for wider public. So people can feel safe within what they are sharing, and the anonymity comes with it. So when parents or individuals decide to join our platform, which is specifically designed for forum, they choose their nickname, so that gives them that anonymity, freely share their experiences and suggestions around accessing various services in their community. And very often families and individuals do share very sensitive information. So the platform is designed that everyone is feeling safe and supported. So the online forum feels for everyone place where they feel supported around while they're sharing their views and their experiences. Next slide, please. So there are many benefits people have during these couple of years have give our feedback that they benefited to well, they joined our lived experience forum, where families actually suggesting and believe that if you want to express yourself, get your voice heard, join the forum. It's good where you can learn, socialize, and make friendships. This is where we can make real change. I'm not doing this for myself, but for future generation. The change needs to start somewhere. It's made me feel that I'm not alone, and it's nice to feel to be part of something. Those are already families, people who already have been on a forum for some while. So you can see everyone is kind of benefiting in different ways. And as Denise and Annette and Caroline already have highlighted, the Tackling Poverty Inequalities team do work in a very wide partnership. So while people engaging with lived experience forums, I'm always there to support them. And usually, if there is somebody have any issues or they would like to improve any areas of their life, then I usually try to see which partner would be more appropriate in that particular time for them. For example, employability support. Sometimes it's again money advice, or if there is any changes been in people's lives, or other times they are looking, there is some crisis situations where things need to be addressed very quickly. So it's very beneficial to have that partners around, and we can provide support whenever people needs it. We also have a video from one parent who has shared how she benefited from engaging with lived experience online forum.
I'm Claire. I've got 5 children, and most of their upbringing I've been a single mum. The forum was recommended to me by a friend. The most that I enjoy, and I'm actually really proud of the forum, because it's been proven that our voices do get heard, and through suggestions and discussions we've had on the forum, we have seen active change within the community and within wider communities, which I think is fantastic and really important. I think the forum personally has helped me hugely in the fact that before I joined the forum, I kind of had the mindset that I'm a middle-aged woman, I have children, albeit they're starting to grow up a bit now. I had a low-paid job, which I enjoyed, but nevertheless it was quite low paid. And I kind of thought that was me, that this is the rest of my life, but that was fine. But then joining the forum, I very quickly realised when my voice does get heard, that is a very empowering thing. And then you realise you can maybe do things in life still, even though you wouldn't necessarily have academic achievements to a high degree, but your lived experiences really are an experience, and you can use that to then to help other people as well. And that's what I've done through the lived experience and through contact with Agnes. I've had huge support. It's built my confidence. It's then led me on to other paths, such as getting help with a CV, getting confidence using a laptop, using Zoom calls. This has carried on to the point where I decided to take on voluntary work with a charity. That again built my confidence even more, and that has now led on to a paid position within the charity. And I truly believe that if it wasn't for the forum building my confidence and making me believe actually I can do things, then I wouldn't have even applied. I wouldn't have even gone down that route.
Now I will pass this on Caroline.
Thanks, Agnes. I think through all of this threads the issue in around our well-being and how we need to look after ourselves in ways that we can. There's a lot of information, guidance and support available from a variety of organisations and community groups across Aberdeenshire. There's hundreds of active organisations and groups that are easy to access either online or through local posters, flyers in shops and local communities, offering a variety of activities. Organisations and groups obviously can be large and small. Sometimes they're set up to help with wellbeing, so it's quite clearly signposted for wellbeing, and sometimes it's not. The benefits can come from a physical activity such as walking, or a group of running locally, or social activity, lunch clubs, men's sheds, and also helping others. People say the feedback that we get is a lot of positive feelings from volunteering and being part of something, and helping others can be really rewarding in itself. So we've got information and support on the cost of living crisis through Aberdeenshire Council, a lot of links to other ways that you can get support and information around the cost of living. But also we've got a link here to Alice, which is a local information system for Scotland. And you can find information about local community assets and services that support health and well-being. So you can find out what's local to you, what groups are about. And we've been encouraging more and more partners and organisations to get involved in using this system, getting their services on the system. And you can see here what you can do is you can search by postcode. So you can put your postcode up, and then it will come up with different organisations or groups that are within your area. And you can add this by filter. So depending on what sort of thing that you're looking for, it can bring that up. So there's lots of information there. This page is growing all the time with information for people on what they can do for their health and well-being and what's local to them. But also, if you've got family across Aberdeenshire, you could signpost them to it and get them involved as well. Got links here on this slide in terms of our Tackling Poverty and Inequalities page on the Community Planning Partnership. Lots of links to information there. I've got my email address, Caroline Hastings, if you've got any questions following this, and our social media platforms as well for information from partners in terms of job availability, events coming up, and links to Agnes's Lived Experience Forum. We've got Agnes's email address here too, so you can directly get in touch with her if it's something you think you want to be involved with. And Aberdeenshire Voluntary Action in terms of that funding that you may be looking for your community group or an organisation that you support, as well as those volunteering opportunities that can be really rewarding. So the information there for you on these slides. So alongside this recording, the slides will be posted on a link as well, so you can look through them in your own time. And that's all from our session for today. We hope you find it useful, and you can reflect back and refer and forward on this information to others who you might find of use. We hope you found it valuable, and thank you very much.